It's Kev from the Leg Up Project. I'm here with Tip Cullen. How you doing, Tip?
I'm in.
First off the bat, what do you do and why do you do it?
What I do professionally is I'm a professional actor in lockdown, so work ain't that great at the minute, but I've got fingers in pies and things are working. I got the stage, I done quite a long time as a regular Royal Marine, done 30 years, and I thought, and I had another 5 years to go, 4 or 5 years to go, and I was sitting in front of a computer screen, and I was like going, and there was a slightly epiphany moment where I went, right, this isn't what I joined up for. I love it. I love the whole being of being a Royal Marines Commando, but I need to do something else. And I just, think, right, I need to go to university. And throughout the time of the Corps, we were storytellers, weren't we? So I was always, spinning dits, telling stories. And I was going, right, I'm going to do creative writing. So I went to Marjon University in Plymouth, looked at the courses, and there's a creative writing course. And, looked at, done my sums about if I leave the Marines, how I can afford it, what we'll do, this and that there. I used my LCAS to pay, assist payment with my university. And that was massive, especially in today's, way of, universities being so expensive. So I looked at creative writing, and beside it, in the sort of creative sort of section of the university, was acting. And then I started to map across the skills and the experiences I had in my career as a Royal Marine. And I thought, no, I need to be an actor. I need to be able to tell stories by me. I do, and I want to really sort of scratch that itch of writing as well. But for me, the transition, the most one was to tell stories by me. I went back to the clan and went, right, this is what I think I'm going to do. And everyone was like, hey, it was weird. But I have to admit, knowing you have those thoughts or feelings or wishes or aspirations, I followed it. And I think it was the wise why. It was what I had to do. It helped both of my mental health, doing the transition from long-term sort of like military sort of community, moving into fusing back into the world again. You know what I mean? And that it has helped me massively do that. So I think I've made the right choice in that way. So I am now a professional actor in between jobs.
When was the last time that you laughed so hard?
It's bonkers this, and I never thought. I knew about it. I heard people saying about it. Being a grandparent. Being a grandparent, everyone was like going, "Oh yeah, being a grandparent, it's the best in the world. It's this, that." And I go, "Hmm." And since I've become a grandparent, there's been moments where I've been watching my grandchildren where, honestly, I have been nearly crying with laughter, and I haven't felt honestly, and even the best runs ashore, best nights out, and everything. But when I just see them on the look they give you, but the innocence, but the humor and the individuality of each of the grandchildren. But some of the occasions, I'm just in pure tears. You know what I mean? It's just incredible, and I value that massively now. It's brilliant. What I mean?
It's a strange thing, isn't it? Becoming a grandparent. I mean, because obviously I've got and she's a year old. But she's in New Zealand. I've not had a chance to actually see her, but we get loads of video clips and we talk on FaceTime and all that. And it is, it does. It's I don't know what it is, but it is a really strange feeling, isn't it, to see.
But it also invigorates that. It invigorates that. Not the reason of words, not that, but it invigorates the fact of how honoured you are to be in that position. You're there going, I'm just sitting here watching these young people just. Completely crease me up. It's so lucky to be just alive at that moment, that precise moment, just watching them, and it brings joy to me even thinking about it.
I don't know what it is. It's hard to put your finger on it, but when you have kids, that's quite a big event, isn't it? But we're young when we have kids, or generally we're quite a bit younger, but we're obviously a fair bit older and a fair bit wiser.
It says your man, I'm Peter Ban.
And how important do you think it is for us to talk about things that disturb us?
It's importance-wise, it's massive. It's absolutely, in fact, it's fundamental. And I think the only way you overcome it is to communicate with people. and communicate with people you trust. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know, and
absolutely.
have proven trust. But you know, because there's so many things, and especially in today's society, there's so many things that will press in your mind, which if you don't communicate it with somebody and get some sort of reasoned feedback and look at it holistically, you know what I mean? If you engage or try to share that with somebody else, they'll tag you, they'll judge you as some sort of like, you know, ism. And I'm thinking, oh, you know what I mean? So you need to sort of have trust in the people you do, but it's very important that you get whatever's holding up that, you know what I mean, or laying in your head. You've got to engage and communicate it and just, I see. Because it's nature, it's life, things happen, things move on. So there is a reason for everything, you know what I mean? Or if there isn't, there's a way or a means that you can address it, you know what I mean?
If you're struggling with your emotions, it is literally a indicator that you need to change something. You've got to open up, because you know what's disturbing you. Somebody might put that into, you know, in a different perspective for you, and you can start to get your head around it. And you know, it's all about growth, isn't it? And coming to terms with the human condition. It's pretty complex, but without discussing it with someone, you know, you're just going to be ruminating and struggling.
But as soon as you engage with somebody and start talking about it, you feel straight away you're sort of like your oomph mode just goes, yeah, I like that.
You know, some of the guys on one of the recent sessions were saying, like, I just feel so much better because I feel like I'm not the only one that's feeling this. And we can't be the only person, can we, that feels a certain way? No matter how dark it gets, people go through. We're pretty resilient, and we're humans. We come through some serious stuff.
The robustness of the human body and the human mind is massive,
phenomenal, mate.
But again, it's incredible, and the extremes that I've pushed myself and the people I've worked with have pushed themselves, and you know the wonders that the human body and spirit can do is gobsmacking. So that communication, like, is fundamental for you to be able to push all those, like, you know, push to the limits of all those things.
Definitely, mate. It never ceases to amaze me what some people deal with and what some people go through. You know, you've got to move through the fear. It takes developing courage, doesn't it, as well, and learning how to be vulnerable. I think they're all things that, especially as men, we need to accept. You know, we have to go through these things.
For me as well, it's one of those things I've learned over my years through experience, I'd say, is the ability for you to stand up, and you have got to be proactive and conscious that you've got to, like, you know, have that confidence. But it's that ability, humility in a way, just to sort of step back, always observe and engage where you feel, you know, that you're confident and it's viable. And the more and more you do it, the more confident and able you are to sort of, like, you know, fuse it in. Because if you know, it's a classic for me, is if you try too hard, it's like, it's a whoosh, and you're like that going, oh. It's going to be classic funny thing, you know, films out there. Somebody just comes out with a one-liner because they're trying to do their bit, and it just goes down like a sack of lead boobs, doesn't it? You go,
yeah, I mean,
it's just that ability.
In the film world, though, obviously, you know, you get that opportunity, don't you, to just second take. What I mean, we worked together on Kingsman 2, and the thing is, when you start working in the background of these films, and we were special action when we met, you see how many takes they do. It's like, it's unbelievable, isn't it? It's just, how many takes are they going to do for this one scene? You don't realise, do you, how much time is taken to get what the director wants.
But the director, but again, that is people and personalities.
Yeah.
Different directors, it works very differently. But it's human beings. That is it. You know, you have to expect. You just got to take it as it comes. You know what I mean?
But for real life, we don't get a second play of it. That's the thing. And again, you know, this self-consciousness we can become too self-conscious, can't we? So, I mean, we talk about being task-conscious, not self-conscious, and that's something that everybody has to deal with on some form or another. But yeah, practicing, getting used to it, understanding yourself more than anything, and accepting, you know, that we're not perfect. It's not, you know, it's not a big deal. We're not perfect.
the thing is, I love imperfection.
Yes, that's what character's about.
That honestly, any I haven't never seen perfect. The only thing perfection I've seen is in nature. You know what I mean? So the human being is perfect.
Yeah.
Any human being is perfect, but it's the day-to-day business of everything. It brings me back to the grandchildren. You know, that thing that made me cry with laughter is because they're moving on, they're learning, and that won't change until they get into the box at the end. You know what I mean? And
exactly.
It's that, and I even now that's why I love imperfection. You know, those little fruit pies, the nuances, the diversity, the dynamics. I'm going, oh, I love it because it's just so. It's hilarious, and it makes life. Yeah,
there is a charm to it, isn't there, as well? You know, it's funny because kids are just, as you grow up, you're just failing at everything, isn't you? You fail till you can make it. And like, I had a video from Litland, and she's just starting to walk, and it's, you know, just wobbling all over and that, and it is massive, just a massive smile maker. What's the Sod's Opera, and how would you describe it to a 7-year-old?
Sod's Opera, right? Sods, if you spell it, is S-O-D-S, and that stands for Ships Operatic and Drama Society. And back in history, in the old days, on board ship, like with the seals and everything else, and that they would go, oh, they're bored, or at sea. Maybe they're in the doldrums where there's no wind and they can't do anything. So then they go, let's make a show. So everyone would get dressed up. They'd make a little story. They'd probably make fun of all the people in charge, like the captain and the Jimmy of the ship, and you know, normally the officers, they would make fun of those, and they would get together and they would all perform and, you know, make it, and they may have the odd little brew or a glass of rum, and they would enjoy themselves. And it's a tradition that everyone keeps. But if you think about it, it's a tradition in a street. When you're 7 years old, you go, right, let's pretend we're one of the superheroes or whatever. But it's still, you're performing. And I think the Sod's Opera, the Ship's Operatic and Drama Society, they used to have and it was unofficial, but they used to make sort of like I think in the army they call it skits, but they used to just do little performances making fun of the hierarchy.
Right, I'm not 7 anymore. I'm back in the room.
All right, Kev, how you doing?
Mate, some of the Sod's Operas we can't talk about. Yeah.
Oh.
Some of the stuff that happened. I don't know about you, but
yeah. So one of the last.
You got any interesting bits on the Sod's Operas?
Well, one of the last ones that I was involved. Well, no, I actually took Hasler Company, you know, a rehabilitation company down at Hasler while I was doing my degree at university. One of the modules was the community-centered actor, a community actor, and you focus on support and how, you know, activism, you know, or support to how drama and creativity helps people in society and communities. And my community was obviously the armed forces. So I looked at the play The Two Worlds of Charlie F., which is done by Bravo 22.
Yeah.
And they had an education pack. So I thought, that's a good one to base workshops on. Then I engaged with Hasler Company and say, look, can I run a couple of workshops? One based on Sod's Operas, and then one more focused on, you know, more contemporary issues they were having to deal with, a lot of the people there, with The Two Worlds of Charlie F. They said, yeah, go ahead. And again, you must have been in our environment. It was a bit alien. And a few of the people that were on the workshop courses were friends of mine from the Royal Marines who'd suffered both physical and, you know, mental trauma from operations. And they went, well, what are you doing here? I'm an actor now. But I used it, and it was in a sort of selfish way because I wanted to use it to, you know, to help. It's part of my community, but I wanted to, you know, for me, it was a module from my university. But when I'd done it, you know, we carried the 2 workshops, it just opened this box of how wondrous Sod's Operas, acting, creativity is for people that are, you know, feeling vulnerability or vulnerable now through operational experience, through psychology, physically or mentally. And I was out going, you know, and I was dumbfounded by watching these individuals just light up and just transform and become these magical characters in make-believe. It's just wonderful. It's a brilliant, like, you know, experience. And it's hilarious, but it just gives you a mindset of people's state of mind or who they are and
Yeah, you get to
how they're feeling. You know what I mean?
you get to see where they're at, where their heads at.
Yeah, and whether with their perception of relationships with their other team members as well.
Yeah, definitely. That sticks out a mile as well. I mean, I remember when I was going through a rough time at 40, and I'm surprised somebody didn't take me to one side and have a chat with me. I was struggling, you know. I was having a rough time of it, being injured and that.
When you were going through that sort of phase, for me, that when you become a Royal Marines Commando, or when you achieve anything throughout the service community, veterans community, you know, civilian life, when you achieve something and you get hit by an injury or something that changes your life, and all those aspirations, potential, everything just comes to a halt. That to me that's like getting kneecapped, or like, you know, it's like that changes. That's like what am I going to do? This is not my destiny, and I think that would be so.
Yeah, that is uncertainty. So when uncertainty, I mean, Tony Robbins talks about it as being one of the 6 major things that we need in our lives to be happy. And uncertainty, when that is everybody gets it with uncertainty.
Yeah.
But you know, it was tough for me. I find it really difficult.
But that ability, Kev, as well, then to pick yourself up.
Yeah, exactly.
And you said yourself, it took a long transition.
Yeah.
But that ability to do it, that experience of doing what you've done, whatever level that transition to become where you are now, that is invaluable. No regrets, but you're like, what you've learned in that, you know, which has been must have been a traumatic time.
Oh, it was hard work.
You know what I mean? That's paid for with a lot of, you know what I mean, a lot of human sort of like blood in it, in a way.
Yeah, a lot of tears, mate. You know, a lot of tears. It's when your goal's stripped away from you and you've not really got another plan, and it's a tough place, mate. It's a tough place.
Yeah.
It's basically given me a perspective that I can always go back to and think, well, you know, it's helped me deal with a lot of other hardships as well. You know, resilience, the ability to bounce back. What's the best piece of advice that you would print on a T-shirt?
Oh, jeez. Right. I got this. Right, I've stolen this one, but I think it's been, for me, in achieving anything, this is it. I mean, and I will credit it. It is for Michel Hendricks, who's a big Dutch Marine specialist. Very, very thing. I shared a lot of time for him, Mountain Leaders course, and he was a very, very effective, you know, operator. Yeah. And he said, "Hey, Tip, the only action is reaction. The only action is reaction. So whatever happens anywhere in the world, the only thing that's going to change it is reaction. So the only action is reaction. If you don't react to it, it's going to be fucked. If you don't react to it, it ain't going to happen. If you don't do anything about it, it won't happen."
Wicked. Right, I'm gonna have to pin you down for a bit of Shakespeare as well.
God's bread, it makes me mad. Day, night, hour, tide, time, work, play, alone, in company. Still my care had been to have her matched. And having now provided a gentleman of noble parentage, of fair demesne, youthful and nobly trained, stuffed, as they say, with honourable parts, proportioned as one would wish a man, and then to have some whining, puling fool, a wretched mummet, in her fortune's tender, to say, "I'll not wed, I cannot love, I am too young."
Mate, that's plenty. Oh, you had me there, mate. I was proper drawn in.
I'm in Penzance this Thursday, filming as a priest. Mary was a loving mother to her son Tom and her daughter Katie. She was also a good friend, and I know there are many here who will remember her warmth and her honesty. But most will miss Mary's sense of humour, despite her illness. Oh, I'm so sorry. Margaret always had a funny tale to tell. Theatre's who for me, because theatre, you get on there. Once a director and you've worked with the cast and you got where you are and where you play with, when you get on stage. So as soon as you walk on stage, you own it, and you feel that energy with people, and this is where this is what I've really got from being an actor, and I know especially theatre work. Yeah. When you go on stage, the energy you get, some nights you go on and you think your performance is absolutely like poo, but the audience just go mental with it.
Yeah.
Because it's such a positive energy and vibe, which is just, it's a human spirit. And then you go on the next night, do exactly, and you're thinking, right, that was the donkey's kahunas, and all of a sudden it's like it's like a.
It reminds me of teaching. It's like, because I used to teach the naughty boys in that, and I think I was working. I got seconded to do something else, and one of my friends stepped in to take my group, right? And he was like, he was used to teaching lads that were a lot older, like sort of level 3 technician stuff. And I said, when I got back the week after seeing him, and I says, how was it, mate? In fact, no, I think he rang me up because he was really upset. He says, oh, mate, he says, I spent hours and hours and hours planning that. I had a fantastic session, and they just trashed it. They just trashed it. It was shit. And I was like, it's gone, mate. It's gone. It's about entertaining. You got to get these kids on board. You know what I mean?
Well, mate, but you know as well, especially
it,
times in the Marines. But in the Marines, it's exactly the same in the Marines. When you give a good lecture, you walk away going, yes, that was good. And it's all the fundamentals that we're talking about. You know what I mean? But
you got acting. It's you got a script which is basically what they need to learn by the end of the session.
Yeah. And you've got to be off script for the credibility, because they're going,
mate, you've got to be able to freestyle, haven't you? I always used to say, whenever I used to get observed and they used to go, well, what you wrote down, you didn't follow the plan. I was like, no, but I covered everything that I was going to. But you didn't follow the plan. It's just, it's that, but I haven't got to follow the plan. I've just got to teach everything within it.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's all here.
I'm an intuitive teacher. But you've got to go with the flow, mate. When kids are interested in something, you got to go with the flow. And I love freestyling. That's what I love about, freestyle performing as well. Because obviously, I play a fair bit of guitar. I've done loads of gigging, and that was my way to process my emotions when I left the Corps. And it's just so much fun. But I always see the teaching and the acting is quite similar.
Yeah.
Performing anyway. What makes you cry?
I seen something the other day, and I think it was about injuries in rugby. And I was just that. And even though I absolutely love my rugby, and it was just something. It was quite. I thought, and I felt it, and it just, the thing is, I'm quite happy with it. But I do have moments at times where I think back to, absent friends and that, though, who are no longer with us, and I do have a few little tender moments with it, and it's more so now. And I think as you become, I'm Peter Pan, obviously, so I'm dead young.
Yeah.
As you become more mature, I wouldn't say maturity, maybe not, but as I get to that stage of life, I value it so much more. You know what I mean? The joys of life. Yeah. So things that, because you've seen, experiences you've had and everything else out there, you cannot get away from how valuable it is. So when there's anything that sort of shows you, where life's stolen or taken early, whether it be from people who have terminally ill and things like that, and you're going, especially young people, you're just going, Jesus. And I do feel it. I really do feel it. And I do. And I think if you don't, you've got issues. You've got, you're not, that to me is humanity. That is humanity.
Yeah, definitely. And as we do get older and we get longer time, obviously the list of people that we knew that are no longer here increases. And with that, the value of life should, for us, go up. And that's kind of a double-edged sword in a way, isn't it?
Mm.
I think as well, because that can impede you wanting to go out there, strike out and do new things, and you take little risks that keep you feeling like you're alive and that.
Yeah.
But I think that's part and parcel of building empathy as we grow up. It's been fantastic talking to you, Tip. And
always good.
I've got to go and edit this now. It's going to take me about a week. But no, fantastic stuff. So I'll just say thank you and catch up with you soon.
Tickety boo, mate. And send us a link and we'll get it out there.
Wicked.
And I mean, for all our gathering in our community, it's great to talk.
Definitely.